Let's talk about one of the common challenges that I find with game developers is the mistake of building an instrument but not taking the time to play it. Pretty simple as a starting point, right? This is an old Super Nintendo. It's a game console. We can probably agree this is not a game. Or if you're younger than me, here's a PlayStation 4, same story. Maybe your PlayStation 4 is smaller than mine. In case if you happen to be older than me, let's make sure you're covered and comfortable here too. Atari 2600, also a game console, not a game. It's capable of having games built for it, but is not quite there. This actually happens at several layers though. In the same way as you can have a game system, but not have a game for it, you can build what's essentially a version of an engine. And we may not actually call it an engine because sometimes engine has certain connotations. You have custom tools built for it, custom formats. It might imply you have kind of a whole generalizable framework in existence. But at the very least, what often happens for game developers, especially at the kind of game jam, short prototype, personal recreational project scale, is we will build everything at kind of only what we call first pass, meaning that we have just kind of barely got it working. Okay, think of a checkbox. What do we have to do to finish this game? The game character needs to be able to jump. Check. Character now jumps. Character has to be able to shoot. Check. Character can shoot. Has to be able to pick up power-ups. Check. Got the power-up. Player has to be able to climb a ladder. Check. Can climb a ladder. The mistake is, after they've checked all those boxes, feeling like, I'm done now, I'm going to move on to my next project. What's happened is, again, they've built the instrument, they haven't played it in terms of doing something more interesting with it. And that exists at two layers. The first is in tuning those things. It's not sufficient that the character jumps. Does the character jump well? Does the character jump right? And sure enough, literally decades of the history of conventional 2D platform games, one of the most famous traditional genres of games, is really built around really subtle nuances in terms of the differences of like how gravity behaves when you're in the air. What happens if you're jumping through the air and a projectile hits you? Do you fall straight down? Do you get knocked backwards? Do you move right through it and take damage? In terms of the relationship between holding the button and your jump height, or letting go of the button and your jump height, all these things have to do with not just checking the box for my character jumps, but really digging in on how does my character jump? Is this the right way for my character to jump? Are there other things I should try and experiment with before I move forward? And this applies across the board to, again, not just does my weapon fire, does it fire well? Not just do I climb ladders, does it make sense how I climb ladders? So we build the instrument, and we're kind of, think of it as tuning the instrument, if you will. Part of why we call it game tuning. Then you have to actually still build levels out, build content, author the material that really utilizes it. That it's not sufficient to have essentially a demonstration area that shows each of the mechanics. Okay, I have my power-up in there, I dropped my player character in there, I dropped an enemy character or two in there. Not like the player just has to see those, and then that's the experience. That is really a test holodeck. It's a sandbox area. Whereas a developer, sometimes that's what we feel like from the programming side is all we have to do. We have to make sure that, okay, well, I can demonstrate all the pieces work, I can show them all to my player, and done. And absolutely not. Again, it'd be like, you know, testing an instrument and thinking that you weren't going to have some sort of audience for that. That's where you've got to start asking, okay, well, even though I've already tuned it, my jump feels good, my run feels right, my shooting works the way it should, if it's a game with action. Not all games do, of course. Then you get to build out environments that put those mechanics to appropriate use. There may not be a single right answer, but there are absolutely processes and approaches and ways to achieve a better answer instead of a worse answer. And at very least, the worse answer is usually like to be the raw, the first guess, the first attempt, the first thing that came out of your system. And you can further polish it up. And that comes not just through testing and getting feedback on things, well, that's obviously a factor in it. It also comes from trying to figure out, okay, what are the patterns of what these mechanics that I've put together, what do they do well, right? What do they make possible that's ideally semi-unique to my game? Compare what does a Sonic level look like compared to a Mario level. It's vastly different as a space, right? I know lots of people these days are enjoying Sonic Mania. And if you stuck Mario in a Sonic level, it's garbage. If you stick Sonic in a Mario level, it's kind of garbage as well. There's a cool crossover too on the web where people have taken old game characters and stuck their mechanics in other games' levels. That's a novelty though. And so you want to figure out what can you do that really shows off how your characters move, how your enemies move, and explores those possibilities. And like I say, you've got to play the instrument you've built. It's not sufficient to have built it and move on. And sometimes where this arises for us as well is when we start thinking too big picture. Now obviously I like big picture, I'm all for big picture, but what starts to happen is we think of this, okay, well it's just a piece of my portfolio to talk about, as just another project behind me, as just another thing that I can refer back to, as another screenshot on my website, as another, you know, game under my belt. And the mistake is that if that's the only way you deal with those games, it vastly decreases the chance of that game reaching a next level of player traffic, or of getting other people to talk and write about it, or getting other people who really genuinely choose to and want to play it. Those are going to come from the extra layer of work that really starts where a lot of people think that they are finished. So don't just build the instrument, play it. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll have another video for you tomorrow. Bye for now.